call the meeting to order on March 3rd, 2022. Approximately 7:10, Conference Room F. Let's see. First topic, why don't we start off with number 1, Worcester livability advertising opportunity, is that right?
Yes.
John, you want to give us some feedback on that, or
Laura, may I have the magazine?
Oh, sure.
we have a quorum, so we're good to go?
I'm doing this for the camera.
Yeah, that's fine.
The Worcester Livability is a publication that's primarily funded by the Worcester Chamber of Commerce. It's used to attract people to Worcester and the surrounding towns, and they're also using it for economic development. When we look at opportunities to advertise Grafton and promote economic development, we really don't have a strong place to go. We look at the Boston Business Journal, the Worcester Business Journal. Those ways of advertising are quite expensive, but we have opportunity to fund, say, a full-page ad at a very reasonable price. So that's what I'm recommending. And if we go to your package, there's different rates here, and I'm referring to this page here. For the most part, when we look at these rates, I could probably negotiate about $1,000 off of what you're seeing there for a rate. My recommendation is to do a full-page ad or maybe two full pages, because I find if you're doing a half page or less than a full page, it gets overlooked.
Did they happen to know the circulation of this, John, off the top of your head?
Yes, I do have some information on circulation. Circulation, we're looking at,
Oh, I guess, I'm sorry, it's right here, 15,000.
I was gonna say 30,000, but, 15,000 isn't bad
That's modest.
if we're reaching the audience.
You're
Well,
absolutely right.
you're reaching the key demographics that you want. In addition, if you put an ad in the magazine, which we would do, we'd also be listed on the website, and we could even get our own page and eventually grow that out over time. And their website is averaging about 34,000 new viewers, which means if you view it and then you go back and view it at the same computer, even though you viewed it twice, you wouldn't count. You'd only count once.
Okay, so that's good, so it's not repeat. Now, one thing, John, as a journalist who has always had to work with sales
Yes.
and advertising people,
Yes.
one thing I would suggest to them is say, can we get somebody to do a story about Grafton?
Well, if we do a two-page ad, which I think would be better, we can have a page where there is an ad and there's statistics or whatever we want. So,
But do they do actual articles in there about the different towns, or is it?
yeah, we can get them to do a story about Grafton that describes it, and we'd have to figure out which angle we want to go with. Whether you want to talk about the different types of housing, opportunities for economic development, which would be my suggestion, but we could do that.
And then, if you're negotiating the rate and saying, hey, can you do a story on
Right.
us? And after we talk about the topic, one of the things, we could also negotiate to say, hey, can you throw in X amount of reprints for us? And also put the link to it up on your social media pages.
That is part of what's included in the package.
Oh,
Okay.
nice, nice, okay.
So, I forget the number of magazines, but let's say they give you 300 magazines for your handout as you want to. And we would be smart about, we're gonna hand it out to potential developers and things like that. We aren't just gonna hand them out to people who already live here. So like, here's a page where it's community profile and has some statistics.
Oh, perfect,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
I like that a lot.
So, we could do it, we have flexibility. My thing is, that if we do it, we do 2 pages, say 1-page article type thing, and 1-page kind of advertorial, ad pictures, whatever.
Yeah, or, maybe an advertorial in there.
And the nice thing about it is with the way they do it is we can actually break it out into 2 fiscal years, if we needed to. Cause we could do it, pay half now and then pay half when it comes out in September, which is a different fiscal year. But I think for the most part, we haven't spent an abundance of money, this year, given COVID and everything.
Yeah, for
So-
the
so-
last 2 years.
So we do have money available.
Is it the 2-page spread on the rate card, the premium,
Yes,
for 9975?
yeah.
Okay.
And we figure, for discussion purposes, I figure we could probably get that down to like 8,700.
Yeah. And what would the content of the ad be, and who's your target?
Targets people who are going to be developing buildings and bringing businesses to town.
Yeah.
I know Worcester also uses it to attract residents to town, but I'm looking at it more of attract businesses to town.
Yeah, that would be my goal as well, is developers. Maybe we could highlight one of the projects that's going on now, like, Pine Street, or
Yeah,
like Pine in particular, because it has the commercial aspects to it. I think that's kind of ideal, right, for us, where we're getting commercial tax dollars that don't add as much cost with schools, et cetera.
right. What I'd like to do is take your idea and expand upon it. Currently, the Grafton Science Park, we could advertise the land in Grafton Science Park. We got 124 Worcester Street, say these lots are available for development, show the proximity to the MBTA commuter rail train station, show the proximity to 8 Pine Street for your residents, show that the train goes to Worcester and Boston, so people see why that's an ideal place.
Yeah.
Point out the fact that we'd have all the utilities there and all those things that the developers care about.
Yep.
And here's a BL3 lab, by the way, so that tells you we're used to dealing with scientific type businesses.
I'm sure that would be able to get a kind of a preview of what we're putting together. Would you be able to give us some examples of that prior to submission?
When I get it, I'll circulate
Yeah,
it so
that's what I'm
that way
saying, yeah,
everybody
yeah.
gets a chance to take a look
I
at it.
mean, I don't wanna turn it into a circus, but I also wanna just, kinda get a better purview, make sure that we're on target on what we're trying to get accomplished.
Yeah,
That makes sense?
yes.
Did they, will they actually do like the design work for us? Is that kind of part of the package, or would we have to contract somebody to do that as well?
We may have to contract somebody to do that, but I have a designer that I use that's very reasonably priced.
Okay.
Shooting from my hip, not getting a quote from her, figure $400, $500.
I'm sure we have a lot of the graphics anyways, so,
Yeah.
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 One of the things that's interesting, that's sort of tangential to this conversation, but it's applicable, is to also find a way, as we go through the year with advertising, to highlight some of the really progressive small businesses that are already here. Web developers, web designers, there's several, in town. Things that people are doing that, to attract some of the science and technology and things like that, because there are a lot of these people. I mean, I have my small business, which is modest, I'm,
Right.
in high-tech consulting, and, but highlight some of the things that Grafton is, the initiatives that we're doing. I mean, even at the high school here, where they've won the robotics contest,
All right.
things like that. We're trying to do things at the Grafton Emergency Management thing
Right.
to get more technology and the portable
Notification
web
devices.
things. Yeah, I mean, to show how the town is, vital and expanding,
Right.
and also leading edge and conveniently located. I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to move out here is because it's not Shrewsbury or Westboro where, you've got Route 9 and it can get congested. So we're not far off the beaten track like some of,
Yeah, you're like a quiet neighborhood off of a main road.
Exactly. But I'm personally really surprised, if you look at the All Things Grafton page, at the number of businesses we have here in town that I didn't know. And of course, there's a lot of grassroots movements, like Chuck Brown, the bread guy. He, he was.
There you go, Sean.
No, but I mean, you look at that, he started with one oven. Okay, I'm gonna retire, I got laid off, and here we are in COVID, and look at him now, people are lined up to,
Right.
I mean, now
Great
that's,
story.
that's, it's, and then you've got the one right on, you've got a couple of the, not juice, but juice bars or
Yep.
things.
Health bars, so.
Yeah, health,
Yeah.
protein.
Nutrition.
The
shakes.
protein things, but they're making a lot of money. So people, I mean, besides the obvious restaurants
Right.
in town and where people want entertainment and the ones that we know, this is a big town when you think about it. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at the pictures of, what the layout is, and we're average size. But from end to end, there's really quite a lot that's going on.
Sure is.
And with Tufts there, that's one of the reasons I wanted to move to town, because I have horses and I wanted to be near a big vet center. And the other thing, I mean, again, this might be tangential, but there's a lot of money in equestrian things. And this was always a very horsey town. And there are still many stables here.
Yes.
And the saddle shed has been in business for over 50 years.
Yeah.
They're bringing it, they attract a lot of people. I mean, there's shows and things, so that's another big lure at some point. Again, but getting the high tech, that's where a lot of the money is.
Yeah. Well, taking what you're saying and taking it to the next level.
Yes,
We do an ad here. We're gonna also get a web page that talks about Grafton. Now, we could take that web page and basically write different articles on it.
Yes.
So it becomes more comprehensive as opposed to a basic information thing. You could talk about the equestrian that you were just referencing. You could talk about the different types of technology businesses in town. You could talk about whatever issues you choose, the great school system and things like that. So I think my thought is that we would do this year after year,
yeah,
and kind of have a standard thing going forward.
build momentum.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
people are saying, oh, what's in here now?
Right, because between the Grafton Science Park and 124 Westboro Road, we have approximately 125 acres zoned for industrial development. And I can't see that being filled up in a year. So
No.
I would see this as ongoing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to see economic development with commercial tax base, not just some
Right.
developer coming in, buying land for 700,000 and then putting up a bunch of apartment complexes, because, I believe in growth in terms of the residential development, but it's got to be controlled. And we're going at breakneck speed at this point, so you don't want that to exceed the thing where, oh, guess what, we have to build a new school in 5 years.
Well, two things. One is we're getting to a point where there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline coming
Yes.
on board. I don't foresee much of an issue with the schools, but you'd have to check with the school system. But a lot of this stuff coming on board is, if you look at one bedrooms and stuff like that, that's people coming to town, but you're probably not dealing with children if it's only a one bedroom.
Well, that's true, but you have a lot of the McMansions being built too.
Right.
now.
Right, but the McMansions, they're big houses, but generally 2 kids is the norm. It isn't 5 or 6 like when people were younger.
We
may
were
have
growing up,
experienced-
John?
I was trying to avoid that,
I know.
thank you.
Well,
Dating ourselves here?
in my little cul-de-sac, I had people with 4 kids next door to me, 3 across the street, most of them, you're right, are 2,
Yes,
but it would be nice to see more of a commercial tax base. So, because I don't know about you, but we look at,
Yeah, we
you
definitely
look
want
at
that.
your tax bill and it's like,
well, that's why
I
I'm
know, we
suggesting that.
need to
Okay.
balance this.
Could I get a motion to let John negotiate the 2 pages and go from there? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, so moved.
No, I can't make the motion, I'm asking for a motion.
Oh. Yeah, I'll make a motion to have John proceed with, concepts, designs for a potential 2-page ad in the Livability magazine.
Right, and disperse the funds,
And
because-
Negotiate price and
right,
get the
because
funds.
right.
That makes
Disperse
sense?
funds as needed. Spend funds as needed.
I'd like to see it first before we spend funds myself, but that's just me.
I have a
think
deadline
timeline-wise,
of
yeah.
May 11th. So I could do the commitment, but that would still give us another week to do the art, but I'd have to commit to the 2-page.
Is it May 11th or March
It just
11th?
says
That's
3.
March.
It says March.
Yes, it is March.
You
Right.
said May
You
1st.
said May 11th.
May 11th.
I meant March.
Okay, so,
So,
yeah, so we're under the gun here.
Where, just remind me, John, where's the budget come from? It's just our allocated budget and
Yes.
we haven't used it?
Correct. And we're on a fiscal year end, so our budget ends June 30th.
And we got plenty in there, right?
Right, we haven't dispersed anything.
How much is in there now?
Probably 12,000, 11,500 out of a 12,005 budget.
Of course, the danger is with any of these budgets, if you don't use
Want to
it,
cap them at the, maybe,
Kept me at 10.
cap you at the list price and go from there? That make sense?
Right,
right,
Fiscal year's up in three months anyways,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
yeah.
90 days.
90 days, that's what I'm saying, 3 months, yeah.
and who allocates our budget? The select board?
TA.
The finance committee.
Okay, so if we don't use it, then they're gonna say, well, you don't need it, and they'll take it.
Well,
Well, pause here. My thing is not to waste it. My thing is to
Yes.
spend it smartly. And I feel this is a smart way to spend it. I could justify it.
Yeah, I mean, I
I
do
don't know
think
if
that
we-
this
if
is a
we
good use
get
of
a
our
Better
funds.
use of the funds between now and June 30th, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Because I could tell you most of the times it's going to trade shows, chamber events.
Yeah.
Those are nice, those are important, but it's not going to attract the bigger fish that we're seeking that's going to build a building at a chamber event.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you'll be able to, with reprints and hand these out at the other conferences, and
Right.
you have something to show in hand.
Yeah.
so
I don't feel comfortable making the motion. I don't really like how there's an 8-day turnaround on this. Granted, I wasn't out there looking for ways to spend the money, but if somebody else wants to make the motion, that's fine.
can we, before we go to that point, can we talk about, all right, you talk about the 2-page spread, and you said the rate is possibly negotiable.
Yeah, I could probably get $1,000 off.
Do we have the time to maybe put together like a Zoom meeting between now and then? So that you can put something together and then get back to us with, say, the actual figure and what we're actually going to get for?
What I could do is, if you authorize me to spend the money, what I can do is I will circulate an email and then follow up and make it public how much we're going to spend. Is that acceptable?
I'm trying to,
I mean, that sounds practical.
right, right. Well, if you, I guess what we have to do is we have to say yes or no to the whole thing, the whole question today,
Right.
because we can't really,
Of the short window,
We-
right?
right,
So-
and we can't, like, have discussion without a public meeting.
Right.
Right.
So I'm asking for you to authorize me to spend up to $8,700 for a 2-page ad. And whatever that final price is, I will get back to you to let you know, is my request.
How about, could we make the motion to be more general for the money to be spent on advertising? And then you'll give us whatever you can between now and the 11th. So you have approval to do it. And if for some reason we don't really like this, at least you have approval to spend the money on something else. I would just feel a little bit more comfortable if it wasn't as specific to this.
So you're authorizing me.
To spend money
to
before the
authorize me to spend
fiscal,
$8,700 in advertising however I see fit?
correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Which, you know, with all likelihood, it's gonna be this, but
right.
it's just I don't like how compressed the timeline is.
Which makes sense. Let me ask one question pursuant to your point. If we didn't authorize this, and I'm inclined to authorize it because it makes sense, and we haven't spent money, what else could we conceivably spend money on between now and June 30th that makes sense? I mean, is there anything
You could
else?
look at the Worcester Business Journal. You could look at the Boston Business Journal. Those would be the only two things that I would suggest. I think any other way, you're probably not gonna get the targeted audience viewing it.
No, I meant there were no other initiatives other than this type of advertising that you would spend it on. In other words, you know,
Yeah,
we're not going to a trade fair or a conference.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we basically are saying, are we all in agreement that spending this money on up to, whatever, 8,700,
Right.
9,000, 10,000 on advertising is the initiative that makes the most sense at this time?
The answer is yes.
Okay.
When you look at the conferences are outrageously priced, where to be an exhibitor at one of these conferences, say a biotech conference, you're looking at a minimum of $10,000 just in exhibitor fees.
Yeah.
And that's, assuming it's in Boston, it's easily accessible.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
done that in the past, but it was the state that purchased it, and then what we did is we paid the state, I think it was through Mass Bio, we paid them $2,500, and we got to be in the booth with them, but they paid, I think it was $15,000.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, I believe you have to spend money to make money, and we have to raise our visibility, and advertising makes the most sense, and this Worcester Magazine is interesting. We can also, there's nothing that precludes us from pitching stories to the Boston BBJ or the Worcester Business Journal, where, you know, we're not paying them to print it, but
Right.
they do something. So, I mean, I think this makes sense, but yeah, I mean, it's a quick turnaround, but sometimes you have to grasp the brass ring.
John, when you put together the budget request to Evan each year, what do you? And I should remember this from my time on FinCom, but I don't. What do you kind of like the line items? Is it line item for advertising? I want to be mindful of the taxpayers' money, whatever it was allocated for. I want to make sure
The budget that we're allocated is $12,500.
Yeah.
The specific line items and how that money's been allocated has never made sense.
Okay.
For instance, there's $2,500 allocated for a business breakfast.
Okay.
And I've been resistant to it just because I couldn't justify spending the money.
Yep.
Because if you're already telling you're a business owner, what am I accomplishing for spending that
Exactly.
money?
Yep.
I'd rather have a one-on-one conversation
With
and
the
do
developer.
I can to help whatever those business owners' concerns are.
Yep.
So,
And what happens for us specifically, our department, if we don't spend up to the 12? Is it a take back or?
I think it would go to the general fund to be allocated however the town sees fit.
Okay. All right.
Now, with that said, I'm not looking to spend money just to.
Yeah,
spend
no,
money.
I
To
know.
spend money.
No,
I
there's a-
feel this is valid.
there's a clear
and I would
intent
do
here.
this
Yeah.
Yeah.
either way.
And which issue would this be in?
Well, it's actually interesting. They print one issue per year and circulate it throughout the year.
Okay,
That's even better.
Okay.
yeah, so
So it's
that's,
okay. I like that then. Yeah, because it's
yeah, so that's good, you know, and the timing on this in a way is good because we're coming into spring when people want to get out and they're looking, and it's a good spring, summer, and even into early fall are a good time to attract things. I
So-
mean, and I don't think, given our history, especially with COVID over the last 2 years, that it's going to look like we're being, you know, spendthrifts here.
Right.
I mean, we've done this intelligently.
Looking at,
Take another whack at it?
well, one more,
I'm sorry.
couple of questions, or discussion rather. In this piece here, all right, it says ads produced by Livability Media. So we, by March 11th, we commit.
Right.
okay? So between that time and publication time, do we put together our own ad, or do you meet with this company and they help you compose the ad? And if we're meeting with them, we already have some things that, excuse me, you talked about where we did some videos about the town and such as that. Are we taking that and kind of handing it to them and reworking it, or I just like to know how does this, how does the page get put together?
They do the basic ad, but if you want beyond the basic package, you may have to get your own outside people.
I see, okay.
So, but I do want to point out, when we talk about the distribution and who's seeing it, they're distributed to economic development and site selectors. Site selectors are people who select sites for corporations. They're delivering it to the chambers. They're delivering it to healthcare, hospitals, utility companies, manufacturers, educational, hotels, and the airports, financial institutions, real estate professionals. So it's getting into the right hands. That's the
A
point.
targeted audience,
Right.
especially since we're so close to UMass Memorial and
Right.
other places.
Right. It's like Joe Consumer may not see it, but Joe Consumer is not the target
No.
that we're focusing on.
Right,
Okay.
okay. All
I,
right,
I like the way they're targeting millennials and.
After the discussion, I don't know, personally, I feel more comfortable with this, especially with the fact that it's circulated year-round. So we get a lot of, you know,
A lot of shelf life.
eyes on it. It's not like 1 month, so.
yes,
Yeah, I
I'll
mean-
make the motion. I make a motion to authorize John to negotiate and expend funds as necessary to place an ad in the Livability Worcester magazine.
Do we want to cap it at all, Evan?
Sure, capped at $10,000.
Can you get a second?
second.
Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous? You're good to go, John.
Thank you.
All right,
Make it pretty.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think anybody would ever accuse you, John, of being profligate.
Thank you, Eric.
Yep.
Um,
Thanks, John, for bringing this.
yeah, absolutely. Excellent stuff.
Yeah.
Grafton Jamboree. Tell us about it.
All right. So like a party in Grafton, May 21st, 2022. It's going to really be comprised of activities for the kids, activities for the high school students, and then activities for adults. For the kids, we'll have face painting, magic show, balloon animals, the guys blow up the balloon. There'll be carnival-type activities and stuff like that, jump houses. For the older students, there'll be obstacle courses and things like that. And then for the adults, there's going to be a beer tasting and wine tasting, as well as 2 live bands. Each one will be playing for 3 hours. And then there'll be some opportunity to look at some antique cars, touch some trucks and things like that. But basically, it's a townwide festival. The business owners, basically, you just need to let me know you want to participate, and we'll find a spot for you. What we're going to do is we'll charge people that are selling food or selling alcohol, we're gonna charge them $150. And then people who want to display cars, what we'll do is we'll charge them $500 a car to display the car. The antique cars, that's for our pleasure, as opposed to really anybody marketing. It's gonna be a big event. The Friday before the Saturday, there'll be 2 movies, one on the Common and one in South Grafton at Mill Village. And we're gonna need some volunteers to be out there and help organize things, and it's just a great way to help.
Townwide event, I guess, huh?
Townwide event, a great opportunity for businesses to get out there and in front of people. And show the people they're selling alcohol or food, it's free to everybody else. I just need to know who you are and make sure we get space for you.
So it's like a call to action for the local business community.
Right. And I'm thinking for some of the home-based businesses that people don't know about, this is an opportunity for them to get a table and let people know, hey, look, I write resumes, I write technical reports, I'm a web designer, I'm doing this. All those home-based businesses, I make jewelry, whatever it is, this is an opportunity for you to get out to let neighbors know what you do because they may be able to use your services.
I'm telling you, the people at the senior center doing those blankets and the jewelry, I
Wow.
passed
Right.
that walking in, they're incredible.
Yeah, they
Right.
really are.
So where about, just honestly, this is the first I've heard of this. So whereabouts is it going to be held?
It's gonna be held in spots throughout town, like Mill Village, Nelson Park,
Okay.
Houghton Farms,
so
High
it-
School.
Okay,
So it's gonna be throughout the town. In part, what I'm trying to do is figure out how many people are actually going to do it, so I could then figure out where to place them.
okay. So it's almost on the idea of like the
Grafton
s-
celebrates the holidays of the
Thank you, I was thinking of
Festival
Santa's
Lights.
Village,
Yeah.
with Santa thing, but,
Right.
so it's same thing, only in the summertime?
For
Okay,
the most
Similar,
part.
similar.
But I
Similar.
think that the
not
difference.
same thing, it's similar.
Right.
Yeah, more events and such as that, okay.
Right.
Now,
Fireworks too?
No, because Dennis belonged to the Lions, and the Lions Club's doing fireworks this year.
Okay.
So it
Yeah?
initially did have fireworks, but since the Lions Club's doing it a few weeks earlier, it didn't make sense to
Have two.
okay,
do. Plus they're expensive.
Yeah, budget, yeah.
you just chased the thought out of my head.
Sorry.
Okay, what was the thing they did at Wyman Gordon's, the dog? the
Oh, they
dog-
used to do the pet,
Dog
Pet rock.
pet thing, yeah, that
Pet
was
rock,
awesome.
okay. So, since they haven't developed the lawn, cut up the lawn yet, can we use is that gonna be one of the
I don't
sites?
think Wyman Gordon's is gonna be available.
Okay,
That spot up there is in the process of being sold, and in fact, the Pet Rock Festival won't be there this year.
okay. You mentioned people displaying antique cars
Yes.
at $500 a pop.
No, $500 a pop. Antique cars, there's no charge.
Oh.
What I was gonna do is go to some of the new car dealers. Hey,
Oh.
you want to display the Ford F-150 electric vehicle? Pay us
Oh.
$500, we'll find a spot for you to display it.
Okay, all right, because I was like, wait a minute, if, John Smith has a couple of 59 Chevys in his garage, he wants, no, woo, okay. all
Yeah,
right,
no,
see,
no, John Smith
okay.
is coming with his '59 Chevy,
For
gets
free.
a spot for
That's,
free.
okay, all right,
But
that,
the car dealerships, we charge them $500 a car.
They have a car.
yeah,
Right, and the thing is, we'll see what the car mix is. I think we'll try and do different types of cars. Here's some trucks, here's some economically priced cars, here's some mid-priced cars, here's some luxury cars.
Now, that's, what day is the 21st? Is it Saturday?
Saturday. It'll be from, the way it's gonna work is for the kids' activities, it'll be from 11 to 4. For the adult activities, it's gonna be 12 to 6.
Okay.
now, did we invite any of the, I'm talking about horses again, any of the equestrian places here, the stables, because that can bring in, pony rides and things like that, and they usually get, the ice cream vendors or, whatever,
well,
popcorn.
We were planning on going up to Houghton Farms where they could touch the different animals and stuff like that. I haven't specifically reached out to equestrian or anything like that. I've talked to some people. I'm waiting for the town's attorney to give me some paperwork so I can have things for people to sign. Because I can't do everything on a handshake and
Right.
Sure.
a wave.
I wouldn't want you to.
Is this all you, John? Or are you like coordinating with Evan or anybody else that's gonna help?
I have you guys. I'm going to need volunteers as time goes on,
Yeah.
but I just need to get the ball rolling, and then we'll figure out where the volunteers are going to be. Like, for instance, one of the things that we're talking about is having a couple of mascots. So I need a couple of, I'm thinking high school students, they can act as mascots, and maybe they do it for an hour and then pass it off or whatever.
So, what I
Need
would
people
do,
to monitor the games and stuff.
what I would do is, talk to the recreation department and get that, winter, what do they call it again?
Celebrate the holidays.
Celebrate the holidays, I
Celebrate,
should know
yeah.
that, I'm sorry. To celebrate the holidays.
Home field, big sponsor.
Yeah, we are. We got, we got Santa there, and, I imagine we'll open up the parking lot and do something for you guys, but, get that list, because they have a committee, and that, form the committee and then kind of get that going, because
Okay.
they have that, the Unibank, they have all of them, home
Okay.
field, so Koopmans, all that, so
Okay.
get that list and work it.
Okay,
So if this isn't,
That make sense?
yep,
because Grafton Celebrates the Holidays was sort of business-centered. If this is town-centered, similar to, say, a concert on the Common, are we using public land such as school, like
Yes.
North Grafton Elementary School, the high school?
Yes.
Right.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. And by any chance, I'm trying to think, I know North Grafton Elementary School used to do a spree day or thing at the end of the school year.
Get a PTO,
I-
yeah.
Yeah, the PTO would, so I don't know when theirs would be, if this might,
when
this
I-
date might conflict with
when we
that?
selected the date, I went to the school department
Okay.
and asked them if there was any conflict with any school
good.
activities.
Okay.
So there's no issues with the
Good
high
job.
school prom or any of that
Right.
other stuff.
Oh, good,
Excellent,
good, all right. Oh, okay. Well,
Do you need a motion or anything, John, or what?
I'm telling you guys so you guys can spread the word. If you guys know people that are willing to volunteer, that'd be great. I'm gonna take use of Carl's idea of making use of the Celebrate the Holidays committees.
List,
List.
they
just-
have all that info, and just, they have an email chain, and they just get that fired up and get it going, it's kind of the same thing.
so,
Is that, it's gonna be called the Grafton Jamboree?
Yes.
Okay.
That'd
It's
be
kinda
good.
like
I mean,
the-
again, I have close ties to the horse community.
Sure.
I've been at every stable in and around Grafton, but, I mean, Peter Adams, who was one of the former selectmen, he's got, his
Yeah.
wife is running Adams Acres right up the road here,
Right.
literally a half mile, and that's where I have my horses now.
And the fact is,
And-
I can see, we could probably use different locations.
Yeah,
2 or 3 horse stables, because if the kids want rides,
yeah,
I don't think they have 20 horses at a particular location. It's probably like 3 or 4 would be my guess.
yeah, but I think the Yalian family who owns the saddle shed,
Right.
and by the way, it's not just equestrian stuff, they have a lot of farriers who come and get their supplies there too,
Okay.
stuff, so there's a lot going on.
going back to advertising, okay, this obviously is gonna take little bit of advertising. So you can't spend all the money on this, because this happens before June 30th.
The advertising for this will be short money because we'll basically just do Facebook ads. So that way people in Worcester and Grafton and Shrewsbury, Westboro see it. But
Okay,
And we're
not
taking
gonna
in
spend
revenue.
huge money on Facebook ads.
I-
If we spend $500, I'd be,
yeah, okay.
But we should talk it up, though, I think that's what,
Yeah.
what John's looking
Right.
for is.
Let's
stop
get in-
beat- Stop beating the drum a little bit.
Yeah, get in
Yeah,
front of the
well,
select board.
The other thing is the St. James Harvest Craft Fair, of which I am also a committee member, and we haven't had it because of COVID. We always went out and just printed up, cardboard ads and went to all the businesses in town and said, can you put it in
well,
your
two things.
windows?
I'm not a Facebook user. I don't use it. But I can tell you that when you're going from B to C, and this is kind of B to C, it is the most cost-effective way to advertise.
Oh, yeah, I say do an all,
All
You
things
know.
Grafton.
And I bet we probably don't even have to pay much for this, because
No.
just go, like the PTG, the select board, the school committee, like get in front of them, get on their agendas. Somebody can post it in All Things Grafton. Grafton Common can do a write-up on it, Grafton News, like everybody
Yeah,
can.
put,
Yeah,
put
I
a
mean,
flyer in the school
We'll
system.
put it on the sign out front at the home field, so.
Yeah.
Then you get the electric sign down here at the corner, right?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
it'll
get
get
it out.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Once
kinda
you put
like,
it,
there'll
once
be
you
a
put it in
couple-
the schools,
Yeah.
it gets around.
It
Yeah.
sure does.
So there'll be, you know, different, just so I understand, there'll be kind of different locations with different activities and stuff throughout the town, and the idea is like, you know, you make a trip around Grafton and check stuff out, have some fun.
Yeah,
Okay,
I love it.
yeah, that's great.
and after this winter,
Sure.
people are ready
People are
for a
ready.
jamboree.
Yes. And it's outside.
Yes,
Hopefully no snow on the ground. May 21st.
Better not be.
don't laugh. I lived in Minneapolis
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
early in my career, and the lakes did not unfreeze until the end of May. We had snowstorms in May, you had snowstorms in October 1st.
Wow,
Sounds wonderful.
yeah. All right, well, good, that's a noble effort there, John. I think, you know, you have our support, that's for sure.
Okay.
All right. Any other thing, any matters that we may legally come before us as the commission? Anything, anybody have anything that they want to talk about?
I just, something popped into my head in the meeting. I think the select board had been talking about like our charge and maybe changing the membership up. One of the things I just wanted to bring up is, I believe they were talking about trying to get a developer on the EDC. And I think that's a really good idea. You know, the only thing is you're not gonna want a developer who, like, there's any kind of conflict, like if you want to develop in Grafton, maybe don't get on the EDC. But I think that would be really good. And personally, I don't know any developers. Maybe Carl does with his, you know, role.
Well, you know, we've had John and I had a lunch in, a few months back, I guess. Probably last year, now that
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it. Local developer / realtor, knows pretty much the market like the back of his hand. And he's actually sitting on the Westboro EDC.
Got it.
So, it would be hard, I think most developers know Grafton and they know that there's opportunities. It's just, unfortunately, it just takes time and it takes the right match. And sometimes those are hard to come by.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, we've seen a couple of different opportunities come up, but they're always in the kind of the tire kicking stages. And there was one that John and I had sat in on, had a nice informative session with them. They explained what they were looking for, and I don't think we've heard from them since, right?
No.
Right, so, there's a lot of grassroots efforts that take place that aren't open or known by the public.
Sure.
Because businesses aren't ready to commit. And a developer's not ready to commit unless they've got a business that wants to come in and do something.
Yeah.
So it's hard to, you know, people say, well, we want more economic development. It takes a long time.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and I mean, we were involved way back when with, the land transfer over to, UPS, and UPS has been sitting on that property now for, almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Almost 3, I guess, right?
Yeah, with no plans.
With no plans.
Right.
And that's a Fortune, 100 company?
Probably.
So, yeah, they don't move like we wanna move. We
Yeah.
want it tomorrow.
Sure.
And unfortunately, in their timeline could be 3 to 5 years later.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I guess, knowing the efforts that are taking place behind the scenes, I'm satisfied that we're going in the right direction. Is it fast enough? No. Is it, progress? Yes. It's like, for every inch that you gain, you'll get to the end. It's like the turtle and the hare. We wanna go fast like the hare, but the turtle wins the race.
Right.
So,
But I think we're making the right moves.
I
Let's
think
face-
we are,
let's face
exactly,
it,
right.
The last 2 years have been unprecedented in terms
Oh,
of,
terrible.
in terms of being very, very tough for business climate, unless you want to go back 100 years ago to the Spanish
you know, flu or whatever. yeah.
epidemic.
Yeah,
But, yeah, these places move at glacial speed. The idea is that you have to get out there and pitch. And typically, the rule is, for every 10 proposals you make, you might get one success. And that's not saying when is the time frame, but you don't stop, you
no,
know,
and I don't
guess
think.
pitching, and I mean, that's
Just to
what we're doing.
just to clarify, maybe was not clear in my point. But I'm talking about, I think it would be beneficial for our membership to have a developer on it
Oh, yeah,
to
no,
add
I
that
agree.
perspective.
Yeah, I
That
don't- I
was
don't
all I was
disagree with
talking
you.
about.
No, I don't-
No, I think that's
But the
an
problem is
excellent
that-
idea.
To your point, I think it would be a Grafton developer, yet it wouldn't be, there would be kind of in a conflict to develop in Grafton. So it's kind of like,
Well,
it would be hard.
Yeah.
But I don't, I agree with you, we should try to.
Or, hey, retired developer. Just having that,
I think Ray's involved in that. a
Just
little
having
bit,
that
right?
perspective.
Ray has some development background, and I would actually draw the line or the distinction between a residential developer and a commercial developer.
And that's-
Because a residential developer doesn't help me,
Yeah,
Right.
I'm
or
talking
help
about
us,
the
but
latter.
a commercial
Commercial, right.
does,
Yeah,
so.
that's
Or
good.
that's
mixed
a
use.
big
or
difference.
Mixed use works too, you
Yeah.
know. So,
Okay.
but
Great point.
I think that's that's the biggest dollar mover, as Carl said. It takes a long time, but having somebody with that perspective, if we can try to look for somebody or whatever, I think would be good.
Yeah.
Well, to me, it's like, I have no say, but if you ask my opinion, I want somebody who is a mover and a shaker, who knows people, they could bring people to the table.
Yeah, and at the state level, I mean, they're probably,
Somebody who's at the state, or somebody who is in a position with a major company where they're looking to grow, somebody who can help. We have approximately 125 acres of developable land for industrial. I want somebody who's going to build a lab space spec. So just come to me with a bunch of money that you're willing to invest in town, I'm game. You laugh, but.
I know.
But there's people who have it,
I know,
we just need to find them.
right, exactly.
Well, I don't know if this is appropriate or inappropriate, but can we reach out to some of our elected officials, like Jim McGovern's office? Or is that outside the pale?
That's what I do. Today I was at a breakfast meeting. I met with the head of Massachusetts Life Sciences. I met with the head of Mass Bio, and I told him, look, we're looking to develop in Grafton. We have land, we have space. Let's schedule a time for you to come out to meet the town administrator. That's what I do.
I mean, even the Boston Museum of Science, which is trying to get back in the swing of things after 2 years. I'm a member there, and, they have all sorts of things, kids in STEM and,
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that. I was at a breakfast today with Mass Bio, and they said that we have a shortage. In the next 3 years, they're looking to hire 40,000 people in the life science industry. So we need to mint those people now. Some of those degrees require PhDs, masters, but some of those may require like a 6 to 12-month training. If you're doing manufacturing, hey, community college, 6 to 12 months, on-job training, 6 to 12 months. Those are the types of jobs that are coming down the pipeline, and we need people for them, and some of that training is not all that extensive, and you're coming out of the gate making 60 or 70 a year. That's a pretty good base salary.
Think about this for a second, and I think when you hear that, what John did today, you say to yourself, that's that grassroots that I was talking about. But I guess we need to maybe let more people know that type of scenario. So you met with Mass Bio, you met with who?
Massachusetts Life Science Center.
So those are two instrumental organizations that would be somebody that we would want to be in front of for development of those 125 acres.
Right.
Well, we should know that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So we should have some way in which to kind of take your day and bring it into the meeting. This is what kind of like a call report. I don't want to have you do more work.
Right.
But it behoove all of us to kind of let everybody know that that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. John Allen's diary, you know? here's-
Something like that, I mean,
Well, no, I mean, that is, you know, you brought up a really pivotal point here. You know, we say, oh, Economic Development Committee. Well, most of the town is not gonna know what we do. And it's like, well, how come we're not having anything?
yeah, why
Develop
isn't it, right, exactly.
Show me.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and again, these things take time, but there are a lot of places in Boston that are looking for satellites in, you know, to extend their reach and influence and increase their visibility in places like Central Mass, the North Shore, whatever.
Right.
Well, and you look at some of the projects that are, you know, in the works here, I mean, Pine Street's a perfect example, you brought that up earlier. I mean, that was, you know, somebody's dream, what, 4 years ago?
Probably longer.
Yeah, you think about that, and now it's just starting to, you know, scrape off the trees and take down the brick and
Right.
et cetera, so, you know,
Yeah.
it never happens fast enough.
Yeah,
Right.
and it spreads because that same developer, GSX, is looking at Upton Street,
Right, exactly.
another development,
Yeah.
so.
Maybe we have them come and talk to us.
Yeah,
It,
well,
it would be
Hey.
great, John, if you could, you know, it's just for us to hear who you're meeting with, like Carl said, because, you know, I work for Amazon, I'm in tech, like, you just start to connect the dots on stuff, you know.
What do you do for Amazon?
I work for their cloud business, AWS.
Oh, okay. I cover that.
Oh, really? Yeah.
In fact, I've been on the phone with all of those folks this week.
Yep, yep. But-
Any other business that we can discuss?
If we could just touch on quick, you mentioned development that we have ongoing now, so any movement on the warehouse by Wyman Gordon's on Worcester Street?
they're still going through the approval process. I think they're requesting an extension because they're not going to meet the 180 days timeframe. And that's another perfect example. That's in a priority development site where they're saying from the moment of application to moment of approval will be 180 days or less. They're not gonna meet that 180 days, so here they are requesting another 30 or 60-day extension.
Yeah.
It's just an example of how slow things can move.
Yeah,
Well, look
I heard that that's going well, like that, particularly like the, you know, just how it looks, the
Yeah, they've made concessions.
Exactly, they're trying to make it look a lot nicer, so,
And put up barriers so that, you know, for noise abatement, they're gonna widen the road, 2-lane this, they're gonna have traffic.
Yeah.
I think
things.
the planning board's getting close to voting on it, so they need
Yeah,
4
they-
out of the 5 votes, cause it's a special permit, so.
Yeah, I think they put it off until another,
Yeah, they're giving themselves time to make sure they get the traffic study back and have a
Yeah.
chance to review it. But we had that discussion before we signed that letter, and what you're really witnessing is the fact is they have a process, they're systematic, and they're going through it.
Yep.
And that's exactly what we talked about before we signed that letter a couple of months ago.
And thanks, you know, thank you to everybody for putting, you know, their efforts into that, and we finally got something out, and which was nice, and
Yeah.
we all agreed upon it, which is, you know, another good step, so.
Right.
well, there's a good checks and balance
Yeah,
systems
I
here.
agree, totally.
I mean, people here on this board are putting a lot of thought into it and not just saying, okay, we're gonna rubber stamp this and also being respectful on these, you know.
One more,
Bless you.
anything with Mill Village, where the, you know, the oil derricks are gone, but, you know, and.
I have nothing to report on that.
Okay, all right.
Is that the one that's going up where that 10 acres was cleared?
No, I just, well, where the old,
Reservoir.
no,
It's over in South Grafton,
across from South Grafton, across from Mill Village Park,
where the
that-
hockey rink is.
that,
Oh, okay.
you know, it used to be what, the shoe factory?
Yeah. We're trying to get that developed as well.
Yeah,
I was on a call 2 years ago about that, trying to get it sold, so,
yeah.
Really?
yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah,
Think about that, right? Pre-COVID or,
yeah, it was pre-COVID.
Yeah,
take
Well,
it out.
Amazon's business is doing great. You couldn't go to the mall, couldn't go shopping.
I know,
I mean, I
yeah.
was ordering, the Amazon people are gonna send me, they must know when my birthday, they send me flowers for all the ordering I
You
do.
can go to space.
Oh, yeah, if I had $150,000
We
laying
won't
around.
go.
I take a lot more than that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Can
I'll
I get
make,
a
I'll-
motion?
yeah, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Awesome,
second.
Second.
thank you.
So moved.
So we're done at 8:05.